Yes.
All right, perfect. Well, we'll get started. Welcome, everybody. I'm Jim West, Associate Director at BioTools Innovator, and today we have our BTI Live number three, um, talking about strategics, how to negotiate, evaluate, get the most out of partnerships, relationships, and pilot type projects. And with me today, we have Dalia Dajutite from Illumina. We have Michael Hansen from Eppendorf. We have Norio Hashimoto from Nissan Chemical. And finally, we have Tad Weems from Agilent Technologies. And I'd like to give each person a chance to introduce themselves. So, Dalia, would you like to go first? And you can also correct me on the pronunciation of your name.
Thank you, Jim, and good morning, good afternoon to everyone joining this session. I'm Dalia Doyotita, and I'm from Illumina. As a short introduction about myself, biochemist by education, joined a few-year-old startup in Austria and worked there almost 10 years on RNA-seq sample prep development, and then I joined Illumina. So I'm with Illumina almost 4 years now. I joined to run at the role of NGS partnerships and applications. And since then my role evolved more into product management. So now I'm focusing on a new area for us, proteomics. And I'm very excited to be here today. And looking forward to our discussion.
Thank you, Dalia. Thanks for being here. Michael.
And I'm Mike Hansen. Thanks for all the companies and their representatives for joining this webinar. My background is also in the sciences, microbiology, immunology, biophysics, and turned the education into a first position after my postdoc with a series of companies playing roles in either applied test development or business development licensing acquisition, these including Boehringer Mannheim, Roche Diagnostics, and Myriad Genetics Laboratories, and then taking a turn in the academic side at the University of Cincinnati in their tech transfer group that led to a position with Cleveland Clinic in their innovations and venture groups, and then leaving the nonprofit world back into the business with Eppendorf, where I was situated in North America as the BD director for our interests. The corporate development group that I'm a member of now came into being of September of last year, where, like many companies and including those Illumina, Agilent, and others, has responsibilities for ranging from licensing to mergers, acquisition, to divestitures. And we're also focusing on a strategy unifying many of the business development initiatives of our divisions around cell biology and aspects of that on a tools basis.
Great. Thanks, Mike. Let's see, Norio.
Hello, everyone. I'm Norio Hashimoto, working on Nissan Chemical. Nissan Chemical is a middle-sized chemical company in Japan, and under the healthcare business, we have a drug discovery, CDMO, and material-based technologies in a biotool field. My background is I'm working for the Nissan Chemical for over 25 years. First 10 years, I'm working for the researcher in a cardiovascular drug discovery. And after that, project management and the out licensing and the business development for the in-licensing is my background. Currently, I'm working for the new business development. I'm seeking the collaboration opportunity with startups and other pharmaceuticals, especially in an early stage, to develop a new product using our technology and outside technologies. Thank you.
Thank you, Norio. And last but not least, Tad.
Thanks, Jim. Tad Weems. I work for Agilent. For those that don't know Agilent, we're about a $6 billion life science tools services software company. I lead the venture capital group. I work closely with Agilent's corporate development group. I started a couple of companies, sold those companies, worked for a couple of other large companies in BD type roles. So what that's a setup to say that I'm going to express more than just my Agilent experience today. So okay, thanks, Jim.
Thanks, Dad. All right. So before we jump into the fun part, I do have just a little bit of stuff I'd like to go over. So being some of our early webinars here still, we do like to take advantage of the Q&A button box. So if you would like to ask a question or be invited on to ask a question, please use the Q&A box to do that. The chat is often overlooked and it's difficult to keep up with from there. So make sure to use that. Just a few other housekeeping notes. Leadership pods have been kicked off, so everybody should have their leadership pod group assignments and everything. So just a reminder, and we'll follow up later, but be sure to update the logs. As well, most mentorship assignments have been assigned and connected, not all, but most. And just want to verify that everybody's had a chance to connect with their mentor, if not now, scheduled for the coming week. And after this is over, we will also send everybody on a post-survey link. So look out for that. So with that out of the way, the format here is we're going to spend the first hour in a panel discussion, and then we'll stop the live stream. And then the remaining 30 minutes, we'll have an open group discussion for any questions the cohort has directly. And also that part is kept confidential within the group. So I guess let's kick it off. Tad, I'm going to start with you. How do you guys engage with startups outside of investments?
We do it pretty well. Thank you for asking, Jim.
All right.
No, I knew this question was coming, so I looked, and the word partnership within Agilent has a very specific meaning in it. But I think today we're talking about more than the broad term partnership. So we're talking about collaborations, relationships. And I looked on Agilent's legal website and identified 14 different types of document sets associated with different collaborations and relationships. And this everything from co-development, co-marketing, licensing, purchasing 3PP, which is purchasing other people's products for resale, to supplying Agilent for internal use. So it's pretty broad as with most large companies.
So Tad, just to clarify, this isn't 14 deals you guys have done that gave you 14 templates.
No.
This is 14 templates you have that you use.
14 different sets of, and it's not just one template, it's sets of documents for 14 different types of collaborations and relationships. Yes.
So how do you guys think about when you're talking to a company? Are you sort of, as you're kind of developing with them the conversations and relationships, are you thinking about how they would slot into one of your designated areas here?
I from the small, it's different for large company interactions to large to large small, and with the smaller companies, most of the time we start with like a proof of concept. And that's just usually a simple NDA kind of thing, and then progress through co-marketing and other types of relationships as we go forward. Yeah, so I don't know if that was helpful or not.
So
Did
you
I answer
start
your
with a
question?
pilot, and from that, kind of take it from there. Is kind of what it sounds like.
Yeah, pilot is sounds very sophisticated compared to where the starting point is. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Well, Dahlia, you work at a small life science biotech company too, Illumina. How do you guys think about pilots, and how do you sort of structure these arrangements?
Thanks for asking. And Ted, it's great that you brought a number of different types of partnerships that you have at Agilent. So 14. Well, I won't be able to give that precise number to the audience, but we also have a lot of different types of engagements. So many types of engagements within Illumina. When we think about startups or young companies, why do we talk, and how it comes to it? Essentially, there are two directions. One is that we are actively, so Illumina collaborates deeply. That's number one. We do collaborate a lot, and we always have our eyes open for new technologies, and we may not be aware of them. So then, and we encourage then those young companies and young innovators to come talk to us. The role that I had, so when I joined Illumina, I had that role when we would engage with those younger companies, or even established companies, so to talk about their technologies. And then the other part is when we have a gap in our portfolio, where the that gap, let's say, is where we want to fill in the whole NGS end-to-end workflow, so to speak. So for example, if we don't have a certain sample preparation technology, we would actively scout for companies who have that, and we may partner with them. Now, you asked about the pilot. What does that mean, partnering here? So it can be anywhere from co-marketing through co-selling, and then further insourcing, licensing, and so on. So one of the lighter perhaps lift is the co-marketing part, and in some sense this also serves as a pilot, because we work with a company, we work with that innovator, or with a company who has that technology, and we also work with the user of that technology. So it's in some way like a three-way collaboration. And that way we get a lot of information and pretty good feeling on, how this is being used, utility of that whole workflow. And yeah, and then we do, as I mentioned, we do one of the, among other things, co-marketing. So there's that. And then of course we are like technology companies. So we have pilots when we actually test the workflows ourselves. That we also call a pilot before we, do next steps. And I'll pause here because I can go on and on about all these types of engagements, but that's one way to look at it.
Okay. And I guess, to follow up on that, if I was a company looking to sort of get introduced to you or your group to do an evaluation of some form, how do people sort of find their entry? Is it through the scientists, R&D scientists who are like interested in uptaking the technology? Is it reaching out to the external innovation groups? Is it meeting at conferences? How do you guys kind of get connected?
I can start since I'm unmuted for now. So it's an excellent question, and I think different companies may have different routes for this first connection, but we connect through multiple functions. So as I had the function of, let's say, NGS partnerships and applications, I would get a lot of inquiries, and that would be emails, meetings at conferences, and so on. So that's one way. The other way is that our scientists, they also have connections, and it comes through them. So it's basically, from outside, it comes through multiple roles, multiple colleagues, at Illumina, and then we talk internally, and it eventually, most important, that it converges into that one sort of internal discussion when we say, okay, let's take the next step and let's talk to them. Nevertheless, some of us actually would, I would say, always respond and have at least that first conversation, because it's just, we are curious.
Great. Thank you, Delia. And Michael, Mike, how do you guys think about partnerships and evaluation at Eppendorf? You're muted.
It's a blend of what Tad and Dahlia said. In the business relations space in which myself and our team sits, it can be an independent inquiry by us about what a startup is doing that might fit our life science tools strategy. And it could be in parallel, a startup seeing us as a company, as a manufacturing distribution investment candidate. So that's typically where the conversations start. They can be basically referrals from other companies, venture capital groups that we are linked with, investment banks, also at various conferences. And for the former, which is the case for us now, as we're trying to develop and present to our new CEO a logical company-wide strategy for our how we can augment our organic product development and research internally with externally derived innovation. And in that context, pilots are typically, not part of the equation. It's really, is it something that, we can talk about and move forward? But for our divisional counterparts who are responsible for R&D and manufacturing topics, and we are working now more closely with them, they may well proceed in their evaluation of a possible partnership with a company, including startups, to agree to performing a proof of principle trial. You can label that a pilot if you want, to test if that external party's technology works as advertised for an application specific to us. The division's looking a little bit more near term. Is it augmenting, a process that we have for the corporate development? We certainly might, through due diligence, go visit a company or, test their platform. But again, I would call that as proof of principle versus a pilot. So that's quickly kind of how we approach it.
Thanks, Mike. And Norio, how does Nissan Chemical think about these relationships pilots engaging with companies?
Yeah, our case is also flexible according to the stage on the technologies, and we have a wide range of the collaboration opportunities. Mainly we are seeking the code development part because our most interesting is the technology itself. So we are seeking the missing piece for the development, and we would like to use the outside technology to establish the entire processes using our technology and the other outside technologies. That kind of consideration is our priority. But we also have another interest. It means the Japanese market. So the core marketing purposes, we are seeking the Japanese distribution opportunity of our synergistic products as well.
Thanks, Norio.
And Jim, can I go
yeah.
back to something that you asked Dahlia about, and I think Mike and Norio also touched on it. But how do we go about finding these companies? But it's usually best if we find you, and rather than the companies continually bombarding us. Of course, we need to know that you exist, but within each large company, we have groups that, as Norio said, are looking for these missing pieces in our portfolio. Dahlia referred to it as a strategic initiative. So if you put yourself in a position as a small company that it's easy for us to find you, that's usually the best way.
Okay. So don't call us, we'll call you.
Make sure your name is on the phone booth, for those that remember the phone booth. Yeah.
Thanks, Dad. Norio, I was gonna say, I think one thing I've seen you guys do actively is you guys are, you said very clearly you're looking for co-development, you're looking for opportunities to distribute product, expanding your portfolio. Do you have done pilots in the past with a number of companies, but what I'm assuming that the high level answer is you're looking for new market opportunities, but when you're looking to collaborate, engage, do a pilot with a company, what are the benefits for you, and what are you guys looking for in that relationship?
Yeah, so it's also case by case. So it's very difficult to answer one question. But one of the important things that we would like to establish a long-term relationship if once we start a collaboration. So from this point of view, we are seeking the win-win situation, not only good for us, not only good for just startups. So we would like to make a new goal. For example, we can establish the new product outside of the each company's focus using the both technology and joint patent or something. Such kind of new goal we set. If so, we can make a long-term collaborationship. So such kind of thing is one of the priority to start a collaboration. But in this case, it's very difficult to make a story from the scratch. So we usually make the milestones. So under the one joint development agreement, we usually make a step-by-step SOW and the criteria for the step ups. That kind of structure is our collaboration strategy.
Sounds like fundraising.
And yeah, that is a good question. The Nissan Chemical do not have a corporate venture capital, so we are not a very active investor. However, the case of investment, our strategy is just a strategic investment. It means that start a collaboration first, a small collaboration first, and after that, consider to invest the money to the partner. And that kind of structure is the current investment structure.
Sorry, I didn't mean literally investing. I meant they're asking for milestones, scope of work. What are you going to do with the project? But that's great. One last question for you, Norio. Do you guys have any case studies, any sort of success stories that you could share of what a successful collaboration looked like for you guys?
Yeah. So so far I cannot share the concrete story, but one of it's like a general case. We have for example, the stem cell culture manufacturing capabilities, and we have some materials to improve the stem cell culture production. But we do not have devices for the processes. So we have a lot of collaboration with the device companies and optimize our material for each devices and establish the entire processes. That kind of collaboration with the startups is one of the ongoing project with the startups.
Thank you, Norio. Dalia, what for you guys do you think are sort of the benefits for Illumina and the companies for engaging in these relationships? What do you guys see?
Yeah, thanks, Jim. And I'm following the questions online here, and perhaps I can answer your question and also related to, I see Roger's few questions, like how can we find them? That's referring to Tad's comment that, we reach out to you. So let me maybe try to answer this together. Actually, let's say, so Illumina is always, keeping eyes open for new technologies and new innovations. So if we think about that, like that serious partnering, and I would put it like this: sometimes we just simply are not aware of them because they are still in, early phase, early stage. So due to the nature of this interest, we actually welcome people to reach out to us. So we are welcome them to drop us an email, contact us at the conference or wherever you see relevant Illumina representatives attending or present. So talk to us. And then what I kind of would like to encourage here is that the just sort of, if I may say it very bluntly, sort of do your homework about let's say Illumina and the whole spectrum of products and portfolios and what we are doing. And then the more you know about, let's say the company, then the more you see that where you fit and if you fit. And if you are not unsure, you think you may fit, still let's talk. But then, just a few sentences in that message and well thought sentences, they may make a difference. And then, we get such content, and sometimes we really get very interested, and then, we talk. And as I said, that first conversation, that's important, and usually this happens if at all it is interesting, it's relevant to what we do and to our portfolio. So that's what I want to say, like, understand that big companies, portfolio interests and maybe where we are going, because actually we do talk a lot publicly about our, aspirations and so on. So just follow that, and then reach out, because we may not even know about you. And actually, these are very interesting cases when we can talk at early stage.
Thanks, Dalia. Tad, what is kind of your guys's, when you're doing one of your 14 collaboration pilots, what does success mean? Are you guys, does it usually just start? Is it a pure technical evaluation? Are there market interests? Are there business development interests? What kind of means or generate success for you guys, and what would be kind of the criteria for continuing that relationship once they start?
I think it's all about risk reduction with younger companies. I mean, there's technological risk, there's commercial risk, there's organizational risk, and so that's what we're looking for. So as you said, it starts out with a proof of concept. Does the tech work? What stage is the tech in? Then it will move into more of a commercial relationship. But on the large company side, we also realize that whatever statistic you want to use, 7 or 8 of VC-backed companies fail. So we want to make sure that there's organizational stability on your side, and that if this progresses forward, that you're just not going to disappear on us. So all of that has to do with risk reduction. But it goes back to something Dalia just said. There are intangible benefits to large companies as well, and some of those intangible benefits include being associated with cutting-edge technologies and having our people engage with them at conferences. But there's that as well. On the other side of the table, on the young company side, I think you're looking for the same thing: risk reduction, having guidance on how to progress, being very careful that the large company doesn't tell you where to progress, because that might not be the best solution for you. I don't know, but it's always sitting below everything else. There has to be economic benefit for both sides, both in the near term and in the longer term. So I don't know. That was pretty broad.
Thanks, Tad. Mike, do you have anything to add?
With respect to finding one another,
Not
or
not necessarily finding. The question I'm thinking of here is in terms of like once you start engaging with an evaluation with a company with a potential partnership, what are kind of the things you guys are looking for to sort of say go, no go, take it to the next level, or go your separate ways?
yeah, for that, we really are looking to see whatever we can as a first step, either the company coming to us or we finding them. And the variety of places, I'll throw that in, Bio Annual, JP Morgan, the Resi series of conferences, SLAS, that's an automation laboratory tools
And
organization.
biotools, and especially biotools, Mike.
I was going to
Yeah.
say that. And certainly we're leveraging what BioTools has, also being very focused on the tools. We've invested as a limited partner in two funds, one in the US and one in Europe, that also, as a group, looks at investments in life science tools. We can consider another one and hopefully soon succeed in closing a closer relationship with BTI. So that's kind of, the network that we operate in. Autumn, the Association of University Technology Managers, is another. So I'm assuming that many of the startups that are in the BTI program are on this call came from a university. The universities have their tech transfer offices, and we're actively engaged in that myself personally with a team of people in industry for an industry engagement group to try to make more awareness and, let's say, a dialogue between the academics and strategics, ours in particular. And so whatever you can tell about, where your product is a solution for a pain point for your customers. Okay, that's very key for us to understand. That's going to weigh heavily on whether you fit our model or not. Another is, are you making revenue? Maybe that gets into details available after you get into a CDA or NDA. We really like to know and feel assured. And certainly saw that being a judge at BTI this year. How well do you know your solution is the better, or what is your competition? Give us your story on how you got there. And, what do you expect? Why would you look at Eppendorf versus another company? What are you seeing that you want from us? Because that's also early on important to understand if, we have common interests. For example, I mentioned earlier, maybe a company looks at us that we make high quality tools. Maybe we can be a manufacturing partner. That, for the most part, we don't do OEM manufacturing. So, having that conversation and awareness early on helps us understand. And then, we're actually involved in part of our strategy plan and presentations to our new CEO who, because of her background in part at Roche and Danaher, uh, does see and is making a commitment to having externally sourced innovations, ranging from acquisitions to maybe those being more immediately accretive to revenue, or maybe as part of an investment portfolio that might be, hey, you need money to get to a certain proof of principle threshold. We're not ready to strike yet. Let's, let you do your thing for a while and then hopefully come in as a exclusive acquirer, would be, how we would approach that information. And, basically be willing to have an open conversation with us. And then, if we're aligned, we can go into NDA. And if it's an M&A, certainly if you had a data room, that'll be helpful.
Thanks, Mike. You had a point there that I've never really heard before or thought about, but I love it, which is if you have a university licensed technology, put them to work.
Mhm. Yep.
Put them to work and do some marketing for you. I like that. That's good. Norio, I've got this next question. I'd like all of you to answer, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. We can start with you, Norio. But, given the current economic environment, how are you guys changing your strategy for collaborative projects? How are you engaging with external innovation? Is your company expanding efforts, shrinking efforts? How do you kind of see your flow going over the next, now and through the next year or two in the future?
Okay. From the economical point of view, not so much changes in Nissan Chemical, but according to the difficulty of the success in a drug discovery part and as a biotool development, so we need a more seeding actually. So not only internal is enough to get a success in the future. We are considering. So now we would like to use the outside technology more. So we established the planning and the development division. It's a new business development part established in 2020, and more focusing on the external collaboration opportunity like open innovations.
Okay. Mike.
I would say for us, it is expanding. Admittedly, we as Eppendorf and our BD group are slower than we would like to begin entry into due diligence level engagements with the startups we've evaluated. But given the commitments from our CEO, as I already mentioned, to expand the contribution from external innovations to our organic. It's really more a matter of time for her and our reconstructed board to agree upon, what directions we in corporate development and our colleagues in our divisions should focus on and prioritize. But it is something that where we were initially in a configuration more of a minority investor, only as a tool, but now it's corporate development. I think that's a promising indication, or that, it's a range of things that we would be focusing on. It's just a matter of getting clarity within the corporation, and we're a private company. The shareholders, who we call the supervisory board, to say, yep, we buy into that. Here's our priorities, here's the budget, and go forward.
Okay. Dahlia?
I somewhat resonate with what Norio said, but I want to add something from from our side. So as well, we are providers of tools in the end, tools to the researchers to do their most challenging, most relevant, serious research. We follow the situation and we want to provide them with the best solutions. We want to reduce their bottlenecks. So now I would say almost I want to say more than ever, we are connecting with our customers, with the users of our tools, to understand those bottlenecks, to understand how can we help them to do more of their research. How can we drive their results so that they get more of that. So that means once we know what the researchers need, what our customers need, we might prioritize some of our innovations or some of our product lines, solutions, so that we help them better. So on one hand, yes, we do have our own innovation pipeline, but on the other hand, it's just like following closely, what do our customers need today in the environment that is today? How can we make those tools better for them right now? So I think that's kind of fine tweaking of our existing solutions even, and maybe even also paving the way to the future when we have let's say bigger leaps of our products that would be more affordable, more reliable, and so on. So So basically connecting with the customers, listening to them actively today. So that's what perhaps is, that's what I want to call out.
Thank you. And Tad.
I think it's interesting, Jim, that in the last couple of years, 3 of your panelists have new CEOs. So I think we're all rethinking, restructuring how we think about, as Mike said, externally sourced innovation. And we definitely are internally. We're more systematizing it, working closer with universities, looking more carefully and in a more systematic way about generically collaborating with different companies. So it was over the last, I'd say 6 to 8 months, companies like McKinsey and Bain, the consultants, are more and more pushing large companies towards these partnering, these collaborations. I'm seeing more and more articles along those lines, which I find very interesting.
Yeah, and if I could jump back in and build off of what Dahlia said, is that I know our company has done very well with the existing product lines, improving them. I might call it incrementally, listen to the customers, trying to stay competitive on a product by product comparison to the competition. But what we, as the corporate development group, are also chartered with doing is seeing in the workflow is absolutely a critical concept that, our instruments may play one segment in a sequence of tools that a customer may need to do their workflow to isolate, protein or NGS or things of that nature. So, we're going out to see, it's not just what we have today where it could, incrementally spread out. It's actually coming in with new stuff that we don't have, that we can't create. The other parties, either, IP or other ways, are far ahead, those including startups. And then what kind of collaboration can we bring that in our portfolio? And that generally falls outside let's say, aegis or charter of the divisions, or, for example, our bioprocess unit clearly in cell biology, our consumables with microtiter plates are in cell biology, our separation and instrumentation with incubators, clearly within cell biology, but, it's not necessarily, completely aligned across the spectrum of a workflow. So it's very interesting, and I'll relay what Dahlia said as reinforcement into our management discussions that, this is really a wise way to go, or as Tad said, he's seen in the literature.
Thanks, guys. Tad, I want to go back to you real quick. So, can you provide like a percentage of, and I don't know how we define success here, but the companies that you sort of engage with at some level, what proceed to what would be considered a successful outcome? And then on the back end of that question, what are the most common mistakes you see companies make that cause problems for them down the road?
A percentage. It's a low percentage, Jim, from where we first engaged to where you get commercial success. So there's a lot more engagement with companies than there is commercial success. Exactly what that number is, I don't know what that is. I should have looked that up, Jim. Sorry,
Maybe
the second half
similar
of
to
the
investment
question was
ratio.
the second half of the question was what?
Sorry, I just said it may be similar to an investment ratio.
Yeah, it is.
But the second part is
second
common
half,
mistakes you see companies make that cause problems for them down the road, or things they could think about to avoid.
Yeah. I think that with young companies and large companies, the biggest mistakes I see is this time synchronous mismatch, that it takes a while for large companies to work, and that the small companies don't have that time. That's the largest mistake that I see. And just making sure when you set up those those agreements that you understand as a small company what the time scale at the larger company is.
Okay. Norio, anything to add?
About a mistake. Yeah. So yeah, that is a lot of thing. But yeah, I personally think it's the mistake for us is we usually take a lot of time to make a negotiation of the agreement and the evaluation period and so on. So maybe for the startup, we need a more quick decision. But the case of the Japanese, we need a lot of approval process. So sometimes the timeline is not much with startups. And that kind of mismatch is one of the big, not a mistake. It's very difficult to start a collaboration sometimes.
So similar answer to Tad. So companies need to plan for this in their budget and not count on it in a short, quick turnaround.
Yeah.
Dahlia, Mike, anything to add, or we can move on to the next question?
I would say for us, we just don't have enough, let's say, history to give a percent of what's success. And, we really didn't define what success is. But I would say roughly, if you're talking about companies that in my 3.5 years here in the last year in the corporate development that we've looked at or evaluated or seen from any number of sources, it's probably reasonable to say maybe 10% get further into discussions with us for either their direction because I don't think it's a mistake. But companies do need to decide, where they want to operate with their company and their products. If it's a clinical or medical, that's a unique customer segment. If it's something for, research and academicians, the requirements either through throughput or different features may be different from then the what I'll call industrial or production clients. And it's great if you have all those customers, but I think, as you start out, you got to kind of decide who you want to deal with and have as your customer. And then, if you're going that direction, plan on how you're going to get to the next step and fund that. And I think maybe another mistake, if you will, is and no offense to anyone who's an investment banker or a VC that don't necessarily take on the faith that investment banker says, you're going to be the next unicorn, you're worth 2-3 billion. Because I think, that's going to probably sway you in a different direction of openness. I did have recently a company that even under NDA, we asked them some specific questions and they refused to give us an answer. And it's like, wait a minute, what's wrong with this equation? We agreed to go under to get, into more details about your revenue and projections. And if you're holding back, then, your discussions aren't going to go anywhere with a strategic, be it us or probably anyone else.
I very much resonate to what Mike you said, and actually Noria Tad. I mean, just to since you asked about mistakes, so what remember, like as a large company, yes, we may seem to move slower and slower than the young company. That's just the way it is. It may seem as a slow process, and actually, in some sense, it will be. But how does that turn? How is that a mistake for the startup? Well, the more clarity we have from the startup, the more information we have under NDA, the more clarity on the technology, and I'm talking about technology here, the easier it is for us to work together and to move faster and to make faster decisions. There may be situations when we talk under NDA, we already establish all of that, and then it's still rather vague. And that's when you just realize that, well, okay, maybe we spent weeks, just drafting some legal documents there, but then in the end, there's not much outcome of it. So it's like, just be realistic about the stage of the technology or the product that you are at with, and then when we talk, be aware that we're going to ask specific questions. We want to know about it because we will make a decision whether we, may want to partner seriously and go forward. But if we don't have information, then yeah.
So a common theme I
And
heard
Jim,
here. Yeah, go ahead,
Jim,
Tim.
I'd like to add one more and see if this resonates with everyone else. The other thing about large companies is the people in large companies, we don't always stay in large companies or in our large companies, or we move to another job. So when someone else moves into the position, they might not have the same goals and strategy as the last person that the small company dealt with. Because one example came to mind that exactly that happened, and someone new came in, then someone new came in again, and the small company was doing everything that they were supposed to be doing, but the priorities just changed just due to personnel turnover.
Interesting. So in terms of the time, it's still a little vague. When you guys are talking about the startups being prepared for the time of these engagements, are we talking about months, years? What's kind of the scale? I know there's no exact number, but what's kind of the sense of the scale that companies should be thinking about and planning for when they're kind of going down this pathway?
So I'll start. We have a 3-year strategic planning process. And so if you're disrupting that strategic plan, you have to wait at least until the next year's revision of the strategic plan before you get a firm decision to move forward on a commercial basis. It takes that kind of time within a large company.
Anybody else?
Yeah, it's never good to say there's a rule of thumb. It's something that we'll see when we have our corporate strategy and business development portfolio targets in place. How often, that may change. Hopefully, it won't. It'll stay in as the North Star is a term we use internally or guidepost for some period of time, as Tad said, Agilent does. But then, in terms of the time where the former iteration of the group that I'm in, when we were a minority investing only, that we tried to set in place, and I think that will be replicated from the time that we make an internal decision with an external party to go into due diligence, and that has ramifications because it requires us to get commitments from the top down in the organization that folks from our IP area, legal, finance, even management are going to have to come into play in that point, 3 different stages of evaluation of the business once we get into that company's data room, and then to do the agreements that that walk, even in the best of circumstances, is probably a 3 to 4 month time frame. And that's if, both parties are exchanging, information freely, the information's there. So again, we've had, and partly it's, when we in a company or a startup, our ships cross in the ocean, and then we say, okay, you're raising a fund, you're trying to raise a round, and if we meet them and they're uh, a month from closing the round or 2 months from closing the round, we can automatically say whether we, really like them or not. We're not going to make your timeline. And then obviously other cases where, maybe they've completed a round or they're not wanting money, then we just make sure we stay on watch. So again, it really varies on the circumstance.
Okay. We have a few more minutes left in the live session. I think we got time for one more question. And I'd like to kind of ask you, in terms of your company, how do you guys think about or make decisions about when working with a company, exclusive versus non-exclusive agreements? Companies, for startups, obviously, this is a very critical, important question that can affect the trajectory of their company. So when you're talking to them and thinking about your objectives, how do you guys kind of think about this part of the agreements? Anybody want to take that first?
Dahlia has a great answer to that, Jim. I'm stalling for me to think about that question.
Thanks for calling me out. I was gonna say that it does vary from case to case. I would say it's the case to case conversation. I don't think I can give one universal answer here. But
So
Tad,
what would affect your thinking on it in terms of what's a situation where it may have to be exclusive for you to be interested, or where is there some flexibility on your side?
Well, maybe to give Tad a little more time. And by the way, Dahlia, you survived that run over by the bus that Tad pushed you in front of very well. But for us, in terms of investing, we can't, as a minority investor, if we were, taking that route, won't, and even tell startups, that's not our intent, because the investment could go, well, if the company does well, if the company's not doing well, hitting milestones, just like any financial VC would expect, okay, maybe, we didn't get our money, and we don't view ourselves as a financial investor, but we do see some caution signs if a competitor to us in our business is also an investor, because at the end of the day, if we're not going, as I hope we will here soon, just, hey, we're interested in you and we want to talk about an acquisition. Are you willing? Can we go down that path? That certainly, even on the investing stage, getting into the company would know from the start that our endpoint is, hopefully, if everything works well, that you will become part of our portfolio. And we don't do co-distributions or things of that nature necessarily as we come out of the gate. So maybe that's as direct an answer as I can give.
Anybody else, or we can wrap it?
So and Jim, while I was stalling, I thought of an exclusivity case, and in that case it was a very specific reagent that only one company in the market could take advantage of. And in that case, we wanted exclusivity. Every other partner wanted exclusivity. There was not the ability to take a certain piece of the market for ourselves. Non-exclusivity, in our view, allows the young company to grow and continue to grow. But we usually want rights equal to or better than anyone else gets in those non-exclusivity cases.
All right. Well, thank you guys. That's